Hello and welcome, Dr. Sanchez and classmates of the Emerging Issues in HRT class at Amberton University. My name is Pamela Thomas, and today I will be presenting on the topic of change management. Specifically, I will be discussing how by applying the fundamental principles and strategies of change management, an organization can increase the chances of their program succeeding. Topics to be discussed: introduction, a practical application discussing change management related to an organization, a problem statement, a review of the change management models and strategies, an analysis and recommendation for client in the practical application, limitations of the study, and a conclusion. The first era of change management dates back to the early philosophers. During that period, the focus was on improving our understanding of human beings, how we experience change and reacted to change. It was in the early 1900s that change management formed into a social science in the field that we recognize it to be today. What is change management? Change management, simply defined, is the process of transitioning people, resources, and business processes from an existing state to a required future state using organizational tools and strategies. Who needs it? Almost every organization at some point, regardless of the size or the industry. The rate of change in this highly globalized economy is moving so fast due to business process change, mergers and acquisitions, software system changes, implementation and upgrades, rapid business growth, cultural change, business restructuring, or activities that might require an organization to reorganize and restructure at some point just to remain competitive. Change management experts emphasize the importance of an organization's readiness for change by establishing a well-designed change management workflow strategy for the success and the future of the organization. There are several models and theories that can be used to facilitate change within an organization, but selecting the right model or combination of models for your need is key to success. This paper will focus only on 3 models of change and strategies and their application based on the organization's needs. Company X is one of the world's largest oilfield service companies with revenues greater than $35 billion and a presence in more than 85 countries. And they are in the midst of a large SAP implementation, one of the largest in history. This software changeover will impact how the company uses data, transfers and stores data globally, and invariably will affect how employees do their jobs. Based on any organization's size, this is a huge project. There's massive change in the operating systems, a global implementation, a realignment of the organization into a lean model, and over 10,000 employees to be trained. This project will require external consultants for the implementation, working with the internal IT department. This is a high-dollar, high-profile project for all players. It's vital to the future of the organization. It can take them to the next level in the 21st century. This project must be successful. There are multiple studies conducted on change management over the years, and the rates of success for most change management programs are very low compared to the number of attempts. Change does not have to be a painful process, as it seems when observing the amount of failed change management initiatives, especially when successful change management strategies have been utilized and planned. The numbers of success can vary from 25% to 40%, depending on whose report you will believe. According to McKinsey & Company, 30% succeed. According to IBM, 60% succeed. According to Forbes Tower Watson, 25% succeed. According to Harvard Business Review, 70% fail. According to Connor Partners, 70% fail. An average between all of these surveys puts the success rate at about 56%. Regardless of the change model that you use, there are some basic elements that they all have in common: the technology side of change and the human side of change. In order for Company X to improve the chances of succeeding at their program change, one should closely examine why the others have failed at previous attempts and learn from their mistakes. They should also establish a clear workflow strategy or model. We'll begin with reviewing the reasons that programs fail according to the experts. According to John Kotter, not establishing a sense of urgency is one big reason for failure. A lack of strong coalition, a lack of vision, not removing obstacles to the new vision, no plan for short-term wins, declaring victory too soon, taking your eye off the ball, or changes are not anchored in the culture. Another take on why companies fail is by Prosy. Prosy states that change happens at the individual level. In order for a group or organization to change, all the individuals within that group must change. No matter the best project management vision or solution will not result in successful change. The secret to successful change is rooted in something very much simpler: how to facilitate change with one person at a time. For brevity's sake, we're going to look at 3 change models in an effort to better understand how change impacts an organization, or more directly, how it affects the people of the organization. The 3 models we're going to look at are Kurt Lewin's Step 3 change model, John Kotter's 8-step change model, and the Prosy model of ADKAR, 5 steps. Kurt Lewin's model is one of the cornerstone models for understanding organizational change and was developed by Kurt Lewin back in the 1940s and still holds true today. His model is known as unfreeze, change, refreeze, which refers to the 3-stage process of which that he describes explain organizational change using the analogy of changing the shape of a block of ice. First of all, a company must confirm that change is required. Once they've confirmed yes, change needs to be made, the first stage involves preparing the organization to accept the changes necessary, which involves breaking down the existing status quo before you can build up a new way of operating. Key to this is developing a compelling message why the existing way of doing things cannot continue. This is easiest to frame when you can point to declining sales, poor financial results, worrying customer satisfaction surveys, or outdated technology. These show that things have to change in a way that everyone can understand. To prepare the organization successfully, you need to start at its core. You need to challenge the beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors that currently define it. Using this analogy of a building, you must examine and be prepared to change the existing foundation, as they might not support add-on stories. Unless this is done, the whole building may risk collapse. Once you've destabilized or unfroze the environment, the next step is change. After uncertainty created in the unfreeze state, the change state is where people begin to resolve their uncertainty and look for new ways to do things. People start to believe and act in ways that support the new direction. The transition from unfreeze to change does not happen overnight. People take time to embrace the new direction and participate proactively in the change. A related change model focuses on specific issues of personal transition from a changing environment and is useful for understanding the aspects in more detail. The change step is when we're actually implementing the new process, the new system, the new culture. The next step of the change model is refreezing. In order to accept the change and contribute to making it successful, people need to understand how it will benefit them. It reinforces the anchor to change. Not everyone will fall in line, but you have to be careful in watching those who resist. Refreezing is now codifying the new culture, the new way of doing things. That's Lewin's three-step change model. The next model we're going to look at is John Kotter's eight-step change model. Kotter summed up what he perceived as the essential eight-step process for successful organization transformation. Again, as with other models, you'll notice some similarities like creating a clear vision, conducting good communication regarding the new vision, empowering employees, leading by example, and celebrating successes. Step one of the Kotter model is to create urgency. Establish a sense of urgency in the organization, similar to the analogy of lighting the fire on the platform. Everyone will know something needs to change and we need to move quickly. You can use market or competitive analysis, the situation of our clients that we need to change our technology, identify and discuss crisis, potential crisis or opportunities, and create the catalyst for change. The second step of the eight-step model is to form a powerful coalition. In this step, you will assemble a group with enough power to lead the change effort. These can be your C-level managers, direct managers, or a team throughout the organization assembled together to carry the new vision forward. After you've created a powerful coalition, create a vision for change. Create a vision to help direct the change throughout the organization, beginning with your coalition. Develop strategies for achieving that vision and moving forward after the vision is created. The next step is communicate the vision. Using every channel and vehicle of communication, communicate the new vision throughout the organization. You can do that through social media, blogs, meetings. Communicate often, communicate widely so that the vision is carried far. After you communicate the vision, empower action. Empower others to act on the vision, removing obstacles to change and encouraging everyone who's risk-taking and non-traditional idealists to get involved. Changing systems or structures can seriously undermine the vision. Empowering action. The next step after empowering action is create quick wins. Planning for and creating short-term wins is important, especially in big projects. Planning for visible performance improvements. Recognizing and rewarding employees involved in these improvements is essential to creating quick wins, getting more buy-in at this point. The next step, building on the change, is consolidating improvements and producing more changes as we evolve. As other risks have been identified, incorporate changes into the vision as we move forward, using increased credibility to change systems and structures and removing policies that don't fit the vision anymore. It may involve hiring and promoting and develop employees who can help implement the vision further. You must reinvigorate the processes with new projects, new themes to support the new culture. And the eighth step is making it stick. It's in this step that you begin to codify the new culture, anchor the new culture by creating the connections between the new behaviors, the new successes to the new culture, creating channels to ensure leadership and support throughout the organization. That's Kotter's eight-step model. The next model we're going to look at is the ADKAR model. The ADKAR model is a goal-oriented change management model used to guide individual and organizational change. This model focuses on the people side of change. According to Prosse, change happens at the individual level. In order for a group or organization to change, all of the individuals within that group must change. The best project management, vision, or solution would not result in successful change. The secret to successful change is rooted in something much more simpler: how to facilitate change with one person at a time. Change awareness. That's the step one of the ADKAR model. Awareness for change. Is your employee aware of the change? If change is implemented and the employee is not aware the change is needed, their initial reaction will be resistance. Awareness of the business or organizational need for change is critical. Awareness may include explaining to the employees that the old software will no longer be supported by the vendor, and the new software is necessary to meet customer needs, to improve company efficiency, or perhaps even to help them in their day-to-day job. Organizational awareness are most effective when delivered from the most senior level managers connected to how the employees work. Once you have established awareness within the employee base, you now move from awareness to desire. Once people become aware and they understand the purpose of the change, they naturally develop a desire to support the change. Does your employee have a desire to participate in the change? If an employee has no desire to change, and they have a mindset of, I'm not interested in changing, what's in it for me, support needs to be from management to make it clear of why change is required. Creating desire is difficult because it's ultimately a personal decision that is not under direct control. While there are certain ways to try to influence a person's decision to embrace change, in the end, individuals must make this decision themselves. As with awareness, desire is only achieved when the individual says, I will be a part of this change. Personal reasons for resisting can remove any barriers from an employee buying into the change. The managers can also help with this by finding out what's the reason for resistance. Is it they don't understand the change? To help facilitate them from awareness to desire. After we go from awareness to desire, we now have created an element of knowledge. Knowledge of how and what to change, enabling the employee to understand what needs to be changed, how to change. From a change management perspective, there are two distinct types of knowledge. The first knowledge is on how to change, what to do during the transition. While we're going through the change, what can I do? And the second knowledge on how to perform effectively once we get to the future state. Knowledge on the ultimate skills and behaviors needed to support the change. In practice, both of these types of knowledge may be integrated and addressed in a single plan. But as you are documenting and developing training, it is important to consider both of these aspects. Supporting the employee in understanding how to change while we're in transition and what to do once we get to the new state. Remember that knowledge is only effective when the individual already has awareness and desire. Each of us has been to a training program where we were not sure why we were there in the first place. Without awareness and desire, you cannot effectively create the knowledge that is necessary for successful change. The next step is ability. There's a difference between knowledge and ability. While knowledge and ability can seem similar, there can be a very large gap between the two. While someone can gain the knowledge about a skill and the tools needed, the process and the proper technique, it may take much longer for the knowledge to translate into ability in terms of performance. There's often a large gap between knowledge and ability. Ensure that in addition to training, to impart knowledge, employees are given sufficient tools for building their own ability. This includes hands-on practice, support from coaches, mentoring, and the ability to network and work with others have helped support the ability development phase. After you've provided them the tools of ability, the next step is reinforcement, supporting the change. One of the reasons reinforcement can be difficult from a change management perspective is that once a change is finished, we are already moving on to the next change. Acknowledge this fact and the tendency to simply move on once a change goes live and build the necessary mechanism to reinforce a change. You have to support the change once you're on the other side. It takes great effort and time to make sure a change stays in place. Given scarce resources and change saturation that a lot of times organizations don't have the resources to support. But it's important. As the final building block of successful change, the focus on reinforcement needs to remain strong so that changes are sustained and delivered over time. You only will know if change was successful if you can take a step back and see if employees are actually doing their jobs differently. If new changes are not reinforced or supported, employees will eventually revert back to the old ways of doing things or not using the full potential and functionality of the new tools due to lack of support. Now that we've talked about the three change models that we've identified, I'd like to introduce the topic of change management strategies. There are four strategies noted here. The first is rational empirical. This is how management will apply skills to change management models. The first one is people are rational beings and will follow their self-interest once it is revealed to them. Successful change is based on the communication of information and the offering of incentives. For the most part, people are reasonable and they can be reasoned with. In short, they can be persuaded. Value judgments aside, they can also be bought. This is the carrot side of the carrot and stick management. For reasons and incentives to work, there has to be very little in the way of preventing huge incentives to get people to buy in. Change strategy here centers on the balance of incentives and risk management. The second change strategy is the normative reductive strategy. People are social beings and will adhere to cultural norms and values. Successful change is based on redefining and reinterpreting existing norms and values and developing commitments to new ones. For the most part, most people just want to fit in. Change strategy here focuses squarely on culture, what people believe about their world, their work, and themselves, and the ways in which people behave as to be consistent with these beliefs. Ordinarily, culture doesn't change quickly, and certainly not overnight. This is not the strategy of choice in a turnaround situation with short deadlines. This is for long-term projects. Moreover, an organization's culture is as much as in the grip of the informal organization as it is in the formal organization. For this reason, this strategy works only where the relationship between the formal organization and the informal are at least cordial and hopefully harmonious. The next strategy is the power coercive strategy. This strategy says people are basically compliant and will generally do what they're told or can be made to do. Successful change is based on the exercise of authority and the imposition of sanctions. This can range from the iron hand in the velvet glove to downright brutality, my way or the highway. Two major factors influencing the choice of this strategy are time and the seriousness of threat phase. If the organization sits aside the fabled burning platform, the threat is grave and the time for action is limited. The metaphor of the burning platform is useful, but only if all concerned can see that the platform is on fire. This is rarely the case in an organization. Few companies are filled with people who understand the way the business works, and fewer people can appreciate the threat it faces on a daily basis. So using the power coercive is good if everyone buys into the urgency. The last change management strategy is environmental adaptive. This strategy says people oppose loss and disruption, but they adapt readily to new circumstances. Change is based on building a new organization and gradually transferring people from the old one to the new one. This strategy seeks to shift the burden of change from management and the organization to the burden of the people. It exploits their natural adaptive culture and avoids the many complications associated with trying to change people or their culture. Essentially, this is a strategy also of accommodation. Now that we've looked at the change models, that's the Lewin, the Kotter, and the Adkar, and put them up against change strategies, I'd like to review the strategy that Company X has put together for their own change plan. Company X change management model is a combination of Kotter's and Lewin's strategy. The first step for their model is align. Align the organization to the new vision, build coalitions, and create a sense of urgency. Engage the stakeholders, analyze impact, and prepare them for the change. Empower, ensure resources are in place, objectives are defined, and employees are trained. Manage, plan and manage the deployment. Monitor, assess change adoption, and monitor value creation toward the goals. Improve, evaluate risk, share lessons learned, and continuously improve our transformation. When we look at their model and compare it to the three models that we've highlighted in our discussion, that's Kotter's, Lewin, and ADKAR, we notice that the client has some similarities in their plan versus the experts. They all have decided with the align the organization to the vision, building coalition, and creating a sense of urgency. They're engaging stakeholders and preparing them for change. The element of empowering resources are in place, and objectives are defined, and employees are trained. Similar to what you see in the Kotter model. Several factors there correlate. Manage the plan and manage the deployment. Similar to what's seen in Kotter's plan. Of the three plans models that we've compared, Kotter, Lewin, and ADKAR, Company X seems to resemble more of the Kotter plan with the power coercive strategy of the platforms on fire, creating a sense of urgency. Also with incentives from the empirical rational strategy. As we go forward, we were looking at areas where they can improve on the plan. So far, we've identified from the company's plan areas of assess the risk sooner. In their plan, it wasn't clear how they were going to anchor the changes. Buy-in from the employees outside of the stakeholders. It's recommended that they diversify the coalition, including people from different levels within the organization to be a part of the coalition, to communicate the vision widely and broadly, to codify the new culture, possibly with training or assigned certifications. And for a project of this size, they absolutely must commit to the end. Methodologies and challenges of this project: we used qualitative and quantitative research methods. Some of the research challenges were, we found several studies and surveys, however, there were limited empirical studies. We also found, depending on who the expert was, contradictory results over time. In conclusion, change management programs must thoroughly be planned and thoughtfully planned. Communication is key. In every plan, you must consider the human aspect of change acceptance. That's the level of resistance. Change management programs must be evaluated long-term for success. That was one of the factors listed in the various surveys is surveys and results must be evaluated over long term, especially if it's a big program. References used. Thank you for your time, and I welcome your feedback.